it's Kelly Thorngore, iBloom's founder, and I am so excited about this new series. So we're kicking it off, 5 habits, time management habits of successful women. Can you guys see me? It's saying I've got a bad connection, but I'm hoping it's going to hang on here. All right, so time management habits of successful women. Before we dive into this, first, I need to know where you're joining us from. So let me know there in the comments and let me know, are you watching the replay or are you here live with me? All right, so let me know in the comments because I want to see and interact with you. And I would also love to know, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to time management? What is your biggest challenge? Because I want to make sure in this 5-day series that I cover your challenges. So before we dive in, I want to make sure that we have a really clear understanding of how we're defining success. How we're defining a successful woman, because that's going to really play into how we see these habits. So when I talk about a successful woman, I'm talking about a woman who has a sense of purpose. She knows what God has called her to, and she is passionate about pursuing that. She may be financially successful, but one thing she for sure has is she knows why she's here, and she knows that her one and only life is to make a difference. And so she has that sense of purpose, and she's intentional about living into it. So when I talk about a successful woman, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about she knows her calling and she's living into it. And you may not know your entire purpose, who does, or our entire calling, but you know that you're here for a purpose. And so we're going to talk about what are those time management habits that are going to allow you to fully live into that purpose, to have that sense of knowing you are here to make a difference. And I believe that as we do that, even when we go through hard things, we have this sense of loving life. And that's what I want for you. So our first habit is that successful woman, she schedules her priorities. So she knows her priorities, but then she also schedules them. This is what this looks like. There are so many people and things pulling for your attention. I know there are. There's so many things pulling for my attention. So many requests, so many opportunities, so many things that we could say yes to, or maybe we have said yes to. But there are a few things in your life that are non-negotiables. There are things that should be non-negotiables, things that are so important that only you can do it. So let me give you an example. I am the only wife that my husband has. The only one. The only one I want him to have ever. And there are certain things that as his wife that only I can do. And I certainly don't want him to go to someone else to meet those needs. And so as his wife, I have to really think about, okay, what are those things that my husband needs from me? Because I'm the only wife he has. I'm the only one who can fulfill that role. Same thing with my kids. I'm the only mom that they have. I'm the only one who gets to shape and mold and prepare them for the future, along with my husband, obviously. But to prepare them and to make sure that they leave my house as the adults that I want them to be. And I don't know about you, but in my house, that requires a lot of intentionality. It's not just parenting. It is 24/7 hands-on parenting to prepare them to develop the character qualities that I want them to have, the values, the life skills, all those things. It requires intentionality. I am the only one, along with my husband, who can do that. No one is going to prepare them to be an adult. Of course, my kids go to school. They're preparing them educationally, other things, but I'm a support system in that. And so those are two of my big non-negotiables. Another one for me is my health. I had a big wake-up call with this a couple of years ago of just realizing I am the only one who is going to take care of me. No one else is going to ensure that I eat healthy. No one else is going to ensure that I stick with my workout routine or get my supplements. No one else is going to make sure I get adequate sleep or manage my stress well. And yet those are so important for me being the wife, the mom, the business owner, all the other roles that I have. Those are key. So there are some things in your life that are non-negotiables. And here's what happens is oftentimes we allow the urgent things, the things that seem really important in the moment, to overshadow the non-negotiables. And I'll tell you, at the end of the day, those non-negotiables are the most important. And I've watched a lot of people that I really care about die over the years. And as they're laying on their bed, they're not talking about the to-do list that they didn't accomplish. They're not talking about that project that didn't happen. What they're talking about is often the missed regrets of relationships, of who they wanted to be, but they weren't. The things that they're celebrating in their life, they're not checking things off the to-do list. And let me tell you, I love to check some things off the to-do list. But I can tell you at the end of my life, I'm going to care less what I checked off the to-do list. It might give me a sense of purpose today, but at the end, it's going to be about who I was as a person. It's going to be about the wife that I was, the mom that I was, the friend that I was, the legacy that I'm living now and that I hope to leave one day. So I want to challenge you to spend some time today identifying your non-negotiables. What are the things that matter most to you? Brendan Bouchard, he has this saying, and I've started using this at the beginning of my day, and it has been so powerful. It's who needs me on my A game today? Or who needs me on my A game in this moment? And I had a situation this weekend. My husband and my daughter were out of town. My little boy and I were going to have a fun weekend, and he got really sick, a super high fever. We're treating him as if he has mono. So needless to say, it was not a fun weekend. It was a lot of hands-on parenting. But because I had decided ahead of time as a non-negotiable that of course my son matters more than all these other things, all the other things took a back seat and he became the highest priority. And so as I asked myself each day, who needs me on my A game? It was my son. It wasn't the messages that were coming up in my messenger. It wasn't the comments that needed responses. It wasn't the emails coming in. It wasn't the phone calls, the text, all the stuff that you guys have too. It was my son. And then once he was taken care of, I began to attack those other things. But I'll tell you, if I didn't think about who needed me on my A game, I would have been tempted to do my phone while I'm taking care of him. You get it? Yeah, you probably had those moments yourself. And so this is important. Stephen Covey, he has this illustration where he talks about rocks. And he says those non-negotiables, those big priorities, they're like big rocks. And if you put those in a jar first and then have the little pebbles and they fill in, and that's the emails, the phone calls, the to-do list, all the other stuff that's part of our life, then there's room for all of it when we put the big rocks in first. However, if you put all those pebbles in first, then try to put the big rocks in, there's not enough space. And that's what happens in our life. We begin to feel stressed. We begin to feel overwhelmed. And so throughout this series, I'm going to show you how to live into those priorities. But the first thing you have to do is to identify them. So in your handout, which Dawn's going to post the link for me, you're going to see some spaces for you to write. Workbook Hire series. And it's going to be an opportunity for you to really dig in, for you to begin to take control of your time. And our entire theme for this is going to be based around a print that you get in your handout that you're going to love. It's going to be an awesome resource that you can use. Thank you, Dawn, for posting that. And the print is a part of your handout. And I'm going to show you a picture of it, but it's going to be backwards because I can't get my camera switched around. But it looks like this. And it says, it's a quote from my friend Brooke McLaughlin, who I love. It's from an upcoming book that she's releasing. And it says, she believed in the mission that God gave her. So she worked at it with all her heart. And my friend Leanne, who's part of our iBloom team, put this print together for you. And I love it. And that's going to be really our theme, is that you are going to know the mission that God has for you. And you're going to work at it with all your heart. Because let me tell you, this work that you're doing, it matters. It matters. And I believe that God has entrusted us with this one life. This is all we get. We don't get a do-over. We don't get a second chance. This is it. And the life that you're living now is going to determine the legacy that you're living and that you're going to leave. And so the choices that you make today, they matter. And this is your opportunity to take control of your time and to choose how you want to live your one and only life. So I challenge you, as you're waiting for our video tomorrow, noon Eastern time, I'm going to be here live every day this week. I want you to really think about, what does it mean for you to schedule your priorities? So first, identify, what are your priorities? What are those non-negotiables? The things that matter most. I gave you some examples from my life. And then I want you to think about, okay, in that, who needs me on my A game? And I love to ask myself that question, definitely every day, but often sometimes throughout the day. I need to remind myself, okay, wait, in this moment, who needs me on my A game? And I want you to begin to think about, what does it mean to schedule it? So I'll give you an example. I told you my husband, high priority. And so we've scheduled an hour a day that is a non-negotiable time for us to spend time together, to connect about our day, to ask questions, to invest in one another. And so from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, that's our time together. And so we turn off social media, we turn off our computers, we turn off our phones. That's our time to connect every single day. It's a date that we show up to every night, ready to invest in our relationship. But then we also have weekly dates. So every Friday afternoon, we spend the day together. So we often come do a Facebook Live over on my personal page with a marriage tip. And then after that, we go on a date and often talk through the marriage tip and apply it to our life. And then we do quarterly getaways as well. But then there are other things just in the daily routine of ways that I know I need to support my husband, the way that I can be the wife that he needs me to be. And so it's one thing to say these are our priorities, say that a few times, but it's a whole nother thing to get it in the schedule and to say this is a non-negotiable. Because I'll tell you, at the end of your life, these are the things that are going to matter. They're the things that matter now, and they're the things that often get forgotten because we get busy with life. Yeah, Wendy said there's too many distractions. I get it. This is why this step is so important, because once you identify the non-negotiables and you begin to schedule them into your week, it takes those high priorities and allows you to live into them. And then the other urgent things, they work around it. All right, so throughout this series, I'm going to be giving you tips and tricks and helping you actually make this a reality. So this is number 1. I've got 4 more days of awesome content that you're going to be able to begin to apply right now. So I would love it if you found this video beneficial. Would you share it? Would you invite people to join us? They can watch the recording and then they can join us live. They can get that workbook and they can go through it with you. This is an awesome opportunity for you to just love and serve others, because I promise you are not the only one who struggles with time management. It's an overarching theme for so many people. So this is a gift that you can give them and it's free. All right. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you tomorrow at noon. I cannot wait to see your homework. And if you have questions as you're going through the series, if you reply to the email when you got the workbook, I see those messages, and I would love to support you and to pray for you as you're going throughout this series. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.